the genesis of why you and I decided to choose this topic for tonight, because it's very much pertinent to what's going on right now in the world. So yeah, let's get into Elon Musk and what's going on.
Well, it's a very disturbing what's happening with. So, as I was saying, Elon has gotten rid of the middleman here. He's gotten rid of the lobbyist, and he has become a part of Trump's campaign team. He was very much.
He is the owner of the corporation.
Yeah.
So he's not hiring someone to lobby Trump. He is lobbying Trump.
That's right.
Yeah.
And we've got the richest man in the world now being overtly involved in public policy. There's no accountability. Like, he can't be fired or unelected by the people. He's straddling this nebulous territory between being a de facto member of Trump's cabinet, but not a legal member of his cabinet. So the conflict of interest rules don't apply to him, but he has all the benefits of being a cabinet minister without any of the responsibilities. And that really came to light recently when Elon Musk, opposed one of the campaign platforms of Donald Trump on his immigration policy, and that was the H-1B visas. Trump had campaigned on removing and ending this abuse of the immigration system in the United States, and told everybody that that's what he was going to do. And then once he gets elected, Elon Musk says, "Oh, I'm not in favor of that," and a bit of a storm develops. And who wins? Who comes out of that storm? Trump caved to his to Elon Musk, who is in effect his campaign team.
That's what I was going to say. Elon Musk sort of became his de facto campaign manager.
Yeah.
Because of his ability to reach so many people through X.
Absolutely, you don't want to. He is the algorithm for one of the largest social media platforms in the world. So, like, he gets to decide who can say what on X. And as we've just seen, if he just deplatformed, demonetized, and unverified a whole pile of accounts who opposed his view on the H-1B immigration visas. So that's a pretty powerful position.
Because the other part of this story is the amount of money that Elon Musk has received from the federal government in the United States for his businesses. So the subsidies that he's received were at $21 billion in federal funds for SpaceX since 2002. Tesla is at $41.9 million in federal contracts and $4.9 billion in government subsidies. So, you're talking about someone who has already received an egregious amount of money from United States taxpayers through government subsidy programs, who now still owns all of those companies and now is living at Mar-a-Lago and has the direct ear of the president. And, when we were speaking about this topic yesterday, I brought up the idea about how, I really I'm not going to jump to conclusions about where Trump's mind is at right now on this topic, but Trump was forced to divest his business interests into trusts and transfer the ownership of them into his children's names when he became president. But now he has a man who owns multiple massive corporations, who is the richest man in the world, living in a cottage on his property, going to parties with him, and changing his mind on policy. This seems very troubling.
Absolutely. It's like anybody who's a member of the cabinet must either put their financial interests or corporate interests into either a blind trust and remove themselves from the daily operations, or divest themselves of those assets. That's the same in Canada, the same in the States. That's just a real, a pretty solid policy that you can't be involved in administering and awarding contracts if your firm is also the one receiving those contracts. We might have heard something about Randy Bossino and the other Randy in Canada recently about this. Was so all of Trump's de jure cabinet members have to do that, but Elon Musk is in this murky little area where he gets to keep all his businesses, doesn't have to put anything into a blind trust or anything, and continue to be awarded huge contracts from the Department of Defense for his SpaceX and for Starlink, huge contracts for Tesla, and as well as the tax credits that and subsidies that he gets on these things. So, like, Elon's been very prolific. Probably, I don't know if there's anybody who has received more government funding for their businesses than Elon. But here he is. He's making policies for Donald Trump, and many of those policies could very well be adding to the bottom line of his companies.
And in fact, so we've got the subsidies that he has received and the contracts that he's received already. Then we have him heavily backing this H-1B visa program that, as Canadians, we like. I would say that we basically have a similar program. We call it LMIA, the Labor Market Impact Assessment, which we've seen 5 to 10 times more Indians being brought into Canada than even the United States has. And and the corporations using them are lying about who is actually applying to the jobs. So they're saying that, they don't have any qualified applicants who are Canadian born, and so they need to get this LMIA visa. So we've seen the outcomes of what happens with this kind of program already here. It's devastating. Anyone who lives in a city, I think,
in any city.
What's that?
You live in any city, and you'll see, like, Elon portrayed this as a way to ensure that America could skim off the cream of the cream of engineers and computer scientists. But that's just wholly, that's a fabricated story. We can see, as it is here in Canada, KFC, McDonald's, Tim Hortons, they're all the ones that are using the Canadian version of the H-1Bs, and it's the same in the States. We're not.
I wanted to pop up this tweet from Elon Musk very quickly, Dad, just to sort of set the tone, and I want people to sort of think about this tweet in terms of what Elon Musk is doing. So here we go. It says, "Incentive explain behavior."
Yeah.
So what is the incentive that explains Elon Musk's behavior right now? Well, clearly it is the incentive to build his businesses and his corporations and to make more money, right? Like we can see this all over the place. So he really has, like, I feel like he has created this like perfect nebula of like the super lobbyist.
Yeah, he is. You know, he is, and it's right out in the open for us. Like
Yeah.
it's not even trying to hide it. Um, at least most of the lobbyists in Canada are trying to hide their skullduggery. But Elon Musk is saying, I'm doing this, and because I am such a nice fella and such a champion of uh, uh, Donald Trump, you shouldn't even be bothered looking at what I'm doing here. It's but yeah, he has set himself up to be. I don't want to say. Well, we've seen on the H-1B um, that you know you could say that he's also the de facto president. If he's the one that is going to be the one making the decisions, because Trump has become so reliant and so dependent on Musk's campaign abilities, his reach on X, the dollars that he can bring in. Um, uh, when somebody becomes dependent on someone else, well, guess what happens?
Right. So, again, I think we're going a little bit over our time here, but I think we can sort of get through this in a decent amount of time. So now, like, sort of the new iteration of Elon Musk as I'm just going to refer to him as the super lobbyist from now on.
Yep.
So Elon Musk as the super lobbyist. So, and we had spoken, you and I, about Bill Gates. Bill Gates didn't even like get into cabinet. He didn't have any say over an entire government department. Does he still have incredible pull and sway over, the CDC and NHS or NIH, sorry? Yes, of course. And over pharmaceutical companies, working with them. Yes, but he was never pegged to run a department within the government. So, and I know we all, probably everyone listening to this, has very serious concerns about Bill Gates. Well, if you have concerns about what Bill Gates has done, you should have an equal amount, if not more, concerns about what Elon Musk is doing right now. In my opinion, because now Musk is censoring Twitter or X.
Yeah.
Now he's saying if you criticize me, then you're gone.
Yeah. Arbitrarily, and he makes his own rules here. So as long as you're on the same side of the page with him, then you might be okay. But yeah, going back to Bill Gates is a bad one, and we know he's a bad one.
Of course.
But even he didn't have the gall and the brazenness to be a de facto member of Biden's cabinet or Clinton's. He stayed on the outside and used intermediaries to advance his interests. But I think you're absolutely right. We're seeing a fundamental evolution in our Western representative democracies, where the corporate interest and the political interest is the same thing. Like,
right,
there is only the corporate interest.
Well, and there is a word for that people love to toss around all the time without actually having any idea of what it means. And like, I think that it has been, there's been a rise in it over decades at this point. But I feel like Elon Musk is sort of perfecting it. And of course the word is
Yeah, the word
Fascism.
is, well, that's what we called it in the 30s.
Yeah.
We called it fascism. We've
Now we
we've
call it culture.
modified the language to make it less offensive, and
As
now
per.
we're using words like or phrases like stakeholder capitalism. Um, well, it may sound a little bit nicer, and it may not sound as offensive, but
Yeah,
it
it's
is.
like gender affirming care rather than sterilization.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
Uh,
this is the world we live in right now, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
we've been become very proficient at using words to disguise their actual purpose and meaning. But stakeholder capitalism is fascism. Um, Having our corporate interests um, uh, be the public's interest is fascism. Um,
yeah.
and as I said at the beginning, like with the Gettysburg Address. Uh, this is we have come a long way from Abraham Lincoln's
Yeah.
vision of a representative democracy, um, and it is um, government of the wealthy, by the wealthy, and for the wealthy.
Well,
Um,
yeah, and I mean, and another way to say that is, I mean, I don't, and I'm not disagreeing with you, but another way to say it is, by the corporation for the corporation of the corporation,
yeah,
and
yeah,
like that's where we're at, and this is scary. And one of the other things that you and I were speaking about yesterday was how Trump has put all of these like really intelligent, outspoken. Interesting, creative people into various roles within his administration. And since Elon went on his H-1B hissy fit, we basically haven't heard from any of them. So the ones that we were talking about was Tulsi Gabbard, Harvey Dillon, Kash Patel, Tom Homan a little bit, RFK Jr. a little bit, JD Vance, not a word. So Musk has literally lobbied like a bull in a china shop into the administration and shut everyone else up.
yeah, and I think he's done it not like he hasn't gone out and said, JD, you can't speak anymore.
No.
Or Gabbard, there's no place for you to have a role here, or he has just hogged up all the space
That's right.
um, with who he is, with his wealth, with his reach, with his influence. Um, we haven't heard from anybody else in Trump's cabinet, or very, very little. And it's even, and we'll throw in the other one there as well. What we should have talked about is lobbyists is the APAC lobby. Like,
Oh yeah. Well, yeah.
do
We want
because
that
that is,
go ahead.
like we've been focusing on the corporate lobbying, but
Yeah.
the lobbyists will act for any entity,
Well, so do
whether
we
it's
want
another nation or a company, or whoever.
well, so this is an interesting little I feel like we could have split this into two videos. One about Canadian lobbies and one about what's going on with Elon Musk, but we'll go from here. Do you want to watch the Thomas Massey video about APAC?
Yeah.
Okay. And this is I mean, this is an interesting video, but it's also it's especially interesting because a lot of the people who have now been demonetized and unverified on Twitter have been demonetized and unverified because of their criticism of Israel.
Yeah.
And so, there's clearly a link there. And this is Thomas Massey speaking about APAC. And then you start to think about Elon Musk and so does he have an APAC guy? So let's watch the video.
He has an AIPAC person.
What's that mean, an AIPAC person?
It's like your babysitter, your AIPAC babysitter, who is always talking to you for AIPAC. They're probably a constituent in your district, but they are firmly embedded in AIPAC. And
every member has something like this?
That's how it works on the Republican side. And when they come to D.C., you go have lunch with them. And they've got your cell number, and you have conversations with them.
That's absolutely crazy.
I've had 4 members of Congress say, I'll talk to my AIPAC person. And it's literally what we call them, my AIPAC guy. I'll talk to my AIPAC guy and see if I can get him to.
Yeah. Well, Massey's a gem. And, and he's speaking truthfully that others won't talk about. But that lobby, the AIPAC lobby, controls the most members of the U.S. Congress. Elon committed. He said anybody who doesn't vote his way on that spending bill, he'll run candidates against them in the next primary. So he's laying down the lumber, laying down the law. Like, he's the richest man in the world now, is going to have his way. The political domain is his. And whether he's a nice guy or a bad guy or whatever, right? We need checks and balances in our system. We cannot allow people with money to run roughshod over the public's interest and only have their own interest served. And whether it's AIPAC or Elon or anybody else, we're running into a really, really dangerous time with these, with the rise of the wealthy.
Yeah, I'm wondering if I think we're going on almost an hour and 10 minutes now. And I know people have a limit, and you and I still have a ton to talk about in this regard, especially like with AIPAC, with foreign interference from Elon Musk in Britain, in Germany. I know there's a bunch of other things that we can talk about in this vein. I'm just saying this on a whim. Perhaps we want to call it a night now.
Maybe but there's another good example of Elon driving the agenda, the foreign policy agenda now of Trump. By saying, it's time to get rid of Starmer in England. It's time for an election there. It's time to get rid of Olaf in Germany. It's time for an election there.
Now he's retweeting Jordan Peterson's interview with Pierre Poilievre, saying that Poilievre's going to be the next. Yes, Poilievre likely will be the next prime minister, but what is it? Imagine the influence that has, him retweeting that, and now does Poilievre owe something to Musk, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So do you want to rather than?
I think we can leave it that for people to ponder and consider. Like, how is this? Trump was never talking about Starmer. Trump was never talking about Poilievre. Trump wasn't. So why is it now that U.S. foreign policy, at the behest of Elon Musk, is deciding who are the best or the proper people to be the Prime Minister of the UK, the Prime Minister of Canada? This is, we've all came through COVID knowing that globalism is our great enemy. Mm-hmm. And here we have somebody who is acting in a far more outrageous globalist manner than even Klaus Schwab and the WEF.
Absolutely. Well, he's being, I think more open about his goals and his aims in foreign governments. Like even then Klaus Schwab, when he said we've infiltrated the cabinets. Well, like Elon Musk is literally doing the same thing right now. And so like, at some point, someone has to stand up and say, this is not okay. And like, I am a Trump supporter. And I appreciate what Elon Musk did in order to get Trump elected. But I am going to be hypercritical of both of them if I see them going down this path of corporatism and globalism, which is the things that we were supposed to be fighting in the first place.
And we must still.
And
it's it's not. This is a case where. We're not going to be better off if we're yelling these guys are scoundrels and we must get rid of the scoundrels, only to put in a different scoundrel. That doesn't improve anything. So
and I think that's a very dangerous precedent because we started out this video talking about the lobbyists that exist within our provincial government, especially here in Ontario, and then a little bit at the federal level and how they select leaders and things like that. But I think that both you and I would like to leave any viewers considering how dangerous it is to have removed the middleman. That there's no lobbyist who can just move to another firm now if he has an ethical or moral dilemma with something he's being asked to do, because lobbyist is the corporation owner and he's now in government. And that's incredibly dangerous.
Yeah, it was bad enough before. It's getting a whole lot worse. So
yes.
But anyway, let's leave it at that. I hope everybody's enjoyed this edition of Canada, a User's Guide and Owner's Manual. Thank you very much, Chelsea, for joining with me on this conversation. I do, if you'd like to help out, make sure you send questions to randyhillier.com. Ask a question. If you want to support the production and the continuation of their lessons in politics, go to nomorolockdowns.ca. And until next week, I think we should say have a lovely evening. And I hope everybody's enjoyed a very Merry Christmas and wish you the best in this new year. Good night.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Welcome to Canada, a User's Guide and Owner's Manual.
Many people want to fix this broken down machine.